Welcome back, viewers. 13 years after Nirbhaya was brutalized, what's changed on the ground? Times Now's Isha Mishra goes back to the same area where Nirbhaya was kidnapped and gang raped, and we were horrified to see that nothing has changed on ground. The area is dark and dingy and offers no protection for women. Watch it for yourself.
13 years since Nirbhaya was brutally gang raped and murdered in South Delhi's Muneka. Currently, we're reporting from one of the areas where the brutal assault took place. We're shooting from a phone camera to give you a sense of the spot and a sense of the situation. In fact, this is an overhead bridge which is commonly used. There is a colony towards the outside, and towards the right side there is a pretty proper here, but you can see that this is a completely definite overhead bridge. There are absolutely no lights. We are shooting with the mobile phone, so we can show you the exact reality. But you can see that the only light that we can see is because of the overhead street lights that we can see. So you can see that there is completely dark, and once we actually climb up to the top, we'll be able to see the extent of the darkness. And we can only imagine that for a single woman, for a woman to be walking here, what would it be like? She would be scared. She was considering that absolutely no lights whatsoever. You can see the visuals here. Look how dark and beachy this particular place is. Now you are looking at this place. You walk here. You're walking. You're just going to cross the road. But that's the kind of there's a temple there, and the only light that this particular overhead bridge has is the reflection from the temple. So we can imagine this is South Delhi, viewers. This is not that this is not a posh area. This is an extremely posh area. This is an area where Nirbhaya was brutally gang raped, assaulted in a moving bus, and murdered. You can see no lights here. Request my camera person Priyal, and to also show that you can see that this is absolutely dingy. There is absolutely no light, and that proves that this area continues to stay unsafe for women, and nothing really has changed on the spot since the last 13 years.
And next, Isha walked down the road, and even though there was an entire camera and reporter unit trailing her, a man in the scooter stopped to stare. Imagine what would have happened if she was walking down the street alone. Take a look at the condition on the road.
You can see that while we were just walking on the road, we were just walking in the path, we saw that a man on a scooter came by, stopped, and when he saw that I'm not alone, there is another reporter here with me, there is a camera person, he moved. But this is a crew, this is an entire unit that is reporting here, and still you saw that a man actually stopped here and was interested in what was going on. So imagine if I was alone here, if any other woman was alone standing here waiting for conveyance, how safe would it have been? We don't say how unsafe or safe it is.
So then next, Isha went near a metro station in an upscale locality of Delhi, South Delhi. Yet the dark footpaths, poor lighting will give you a glimpse of how women's safety has now been reduced to a complete sham. Take a look.
Metros are considered to be safe travel for women. But the question is, are the routes and the paths leading to the metro station safe and actually a safe passage? We're recording from a mobile phone and the flashlight is on, considering you can see how well lit it is currently. We'll be shutting the light off so that you can see the extent of the dingy area that this is. We go through the Muneka metro station, and towards my right side, if there is a road, and towards my left side is a jungle. Yes, the jungle. You can see that these are wild trees, wild bushes, in fact, wildlife towards the other side, and the paths that we are walking at is dark and dingy. In fact, it is also difficult, and even as I walk, it's difficult for me to look at the look at what is coming in front of me, and that is the reality. This is South Delhi, viewers. This is an area where the IIT is, where the most premier institution, JNU, is, where there are premier malls, and this is the state that we can see here, that it is all dark, dirty, dingy, and we can only imagine the plight of those who actually take on these cars to commute every day. So definitely raises multiple questions. 13 years have passed since Nirbhaya was brutally gang raped, assaulted, murdered, and we're reporting to one of the areas where she was picked up, and you can still see that the area is completely dark, it's a busy road, and we can imagine how unsafe it is for a woman to be standing here alone. Towards the other side, there is a bus stand as well, but there is still no light.
So the crew actually did not see any police officials there. In fact, when Isha walks down a road, and this is a main road, not some alley, yet at least 2 scooter riders were seen stopping to speak to her. So imagine the audacity of the miscreants. When they see that there is an entire crew with her, they immediately ride away. Watch it for yourself.
Viewers, we were here minding our own business. We were doing a spot check of the situation. We were just looking at how lit it is. But there are actually 2 scooters that have stopped in the span of the last 5 minutes, bothering us, asking us questions.
And then walking down the roads of Mehroli area, she barely saw any police patrol. And this is one time when there was a PCR van that was visible, but that too drove away. She didn't see any more there at the spot.
We've seen one PCR van actually pass through this area. We can see in the visuals as well that the car is taking rounds around this particular area. This is Munirka. This is the bus stop from where Nirbhaya was picked up, and then in a private bus where she was assaulted, raped, and then she succumbed to her injuries in the hospital.
In fact, Times Now traced the ill-fated route which the rapist of Nirbhaya had taken, and we take you to the spot from where she was kidnapped in a bus and then she was driven around. Finally, we also revisited the spot where she was flung out of the bus and after being ravaged. Watch this report by Priyank Tripathi on whether there have been changes now after so many years or not.
Taking you through the route, which is 7.5 kilometers long stretch, starting from this Munirka, going to the same location where Nirbhaya was dropped. Those men who were there in the white color bus who had sexually assaulted, brutally gang raped her. That's the same route which this bus took, and it took several turns. So exactly starting around the time period which is of 1219, we are moving towards the location where Nirbhaya was thrown. You can see these hotels. These are the hotels, and one of the CCTV footage of the hotel was the one which actually spotted the movement of the vehicle. Since the vehicle was taking several loops, that's why it could be identified. And crossing this particular stretch of the road, the suspect actually took a U-turn, and we'll show you the location where the victims were dumped. We have come to this location where both the victims were dropped. I'll show you why this location has been identified, because right outside, opposite to this location, is these hotels which have been pretty famous because they are near the airport. But no movement of the Delhi police on this stretch of the road is certainly disheartening for us, because we have been talking about the Nirbhaya Fund, we have been talking about the kind of effort which should have been there, but unfortunately things are not as such which could have been there.
So imagine the situation on the ground. Not much has changed, and that speaks volumes about women's safety in the national capital. With that, a short break. We'll be right back.